Morning, good afternoon. So I shared this with the group in the morning, and I would say that Mondays have a special spot in my heart. I think Monday signifies the day of new beginnings. And if you ever think about starting something new, whoever says I'm going to start something on Wednesday or Friday or Thursday or Saturday or Sunday or tomorrow, don't you all just say, hey, I'm going to do that on Monday? So I find Mondays a day where we all make a lot of promises to ourselves. So whatever it is you promise yourself that you would start this week, stick it in your calendar, whether it's for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, something. Remember, small actions done consistently produce oversized results. You don't have to eat the whole pizza pie at once, as they say, even though eating a pie pizza does sound very appealing right now. So that's what I want everyone to focus on, because if you're looking to consistently grow, remember, strategy beats talent over time, right? Strategy beats talent over time. How many times have you seen in football, Bill Belichick just straight up outcoach the other team and his team did not have the best players, right? So at some point, we have to realize strategy is more important than talent. Number two, consistency builds momentum. Once you have momentum, then you could have multipliers. It's like going to coaching and groups and the people that you surround yourself with. And that's how you continue to grow. See, I know this because we speak to probably more than 1,000 agents at Compass here a week. Nobody's doing anything to continue to grow their skills or conversations or anything. It is not a shiny penny. It is not like super fun. It's not like, hey, let's practice how to talk to people. It's not like you wake up and get out of bed and you're like, hey, hey, Holly, let's go practice how to talk to people. That sounds like a great time, right? People want gizmos, gadgets, and things that bring instant gratification. However, the challenge is in real estate, we've never done these things. So year after year after year, we're constantly faced with the same challenges. It's like, imagine your kid, if you have kids or someone that has a kid, coming home and failing the same test over and over again. But like, you've gotten that same test for the last 5 years. How come you don't get it wrong? Oh, yes, because you never studied, you never did your homework. So we're going through this month and delivering the perfect pitch. For a recap for last week, we went through how to build rapport with anybody in 5 minutes. And people have four psychological needs that they need, four psychological needs that need to be addressed for people to feel comfortable making a decision. Now, think about it. Have you ever gone to a place where someone was a great salesperson and they just asked you questions, answered only what you wanted, and in the end said, hey, do you have any other questions you'd like to move forward? And you kind of awkwardly pause and you're like, no, I'll take it. Hit yes if that's ever happened to you. Nobody. One. Two. It's happened to everybody. You might just not realize it, right? Because if you think about it, there's a reason you go somewhere. There's an expectation you have of what that experience is going to be like. There are past disappointments that will impact your present decision, and always concerns of what happens if this doesn't work for me? What happens if this goes wrong? Fear, right? If you do not address those four things for a client, are they ever going to be able to move forward with you? The answer is no. So when we're really working with people on perfecting their pitch, we'll ask them, did you go in and ask all the building rapport, the Med C questions? Yes. Did you talk about what was important to them? Yes. Did you add anything else onto the presentation or pitch that you felt that they should know or had to know? Yes. That's the problem right there. Why do they have to know? It doesn't matter. Who cares? If someone doesn't want to renovate their home and they're very clear, I want to just sell my house in the condition it's in today, why are you ramming down Compass Concierge and why they should renovate their home? Does anyone like to be told how to think, feel, or what to do? No. I'll give you an example. I bought a car recently and I was at the Porsche dealership, and those cars are normally known for engines. And I test drove another car that was like that, and the sound was really bad. And I like, quite transparently, listening to really loud music. So I go to the car dealership, and the guy has me come in the car and he goes, what would you like to look at? I was like, I don't know if you want to sit in the car, but I want to know how loud the sound system goes. The guy gave me kind of a weird look because most people go there. Those are performance cars. So the guy sat there. I cranked the music up. I'm like, oh, this is cool. He's like, so what else do you want to know about? And, he answered all of my questions. He did not tell me about one other thing. I went inside. I asked him any other questions that I needed to ask. And I asked him, what do you think I should know about? And then he went through a few things. He's like, he's like, I could keep going, but I don't know if any of it's important to you. I was like, no, I found out what I want. So he's like, you want the car? And I was like, yep. 18 minutes the whole thing took, probably even less, right? Because some of this was like paperwork and stuff like that. And I bought the car. He answered my motivation. He met my expectations. He addressed my past disappointment about some features in the car, and the concerns I had about waiting forever and deposits and everything were all done. 18 minutes. And that's because he was able to talk about what I wanted to talk about, right? So number one, write this down in your notes. The 4 things are and motivations, expectations, disappointments, and concerns. So there are 3 things that clients care about in a listing. Do you know what they are? Only 3 things. And they all come back to the same thing. What are they? All right, this is where it gets a little concerning, guys. Commission. All right, there's like 20 other people here besides myself, and you all sell real estate. This is kind of, all right, here we go. Price, commission, price, location, time. Okay, write these things down. Price is number 1. Marketing is number 2. Communication is number 3. Anything that a client says goes back to those 3 things. Now, here's where we could have some fun. I always say the best way to show people that you're not full of shit is give anyone an opportunity to ask you any question you want. And I will bring anything you say that a seller could ever tell you back to those 3 things. Now, feel free to unmute yourself and ask away. I'm hoping Shane speaks so I could hear his Boston accent. Anybody? You could throw out any hallucinogen thing, any hallucination a client has, what a client's asked you recently, and I will teach you a sales tactic, strategy, whatever you want to call it, called level shifting, right? They tell you one thing and you level shift it back to where you want to have the conversation.
Why is the list price always lower than it's sold?
So let's think about where we are in this process, right? And look, I'll just preface this by saying this. When we get into objections and everything like that, we'll give you a sheet and you could literally come up with every single listing objection, marketing objection, price objection. And I'll sit here, whether it's 1, 2, 3 sessions, and I'll answer all of them for you. We'll break them down into little video clips and you could have them in the library. Sound good? So now we've gone through, and things like memory joggers for that would be is like, how are you going to get me the best price? All I care about is marketing. Like, how will you stay in touch with me? These are the things that clients say to you, right? Now, if you look at the first part, a great pitch is a sequence of events that you do on purpose, right? This all needs to be predictable for you. But if you don't know how to bring a conversation back to a center point, then you're just going to continue to go in a whole one way and another way, another way. Excuse me. So someone asked a question now, right? So what would a client say to you? Holly, what would a client say to you? I know you're not shy. Go ahead.
Okay. Chirag, all of this sounds really great, but I'm most concerned about the commission at this point because we're in a really hot market, and I want to maximize the price that I get for my house, and I don't want to pay a full fee for that.
So you're too far in advance, right? This is assuming you already gave. We're at the very beginning stage, right? I asked you what is your motivation, What's your motivation in moving? What are your goals? What does success look like, right? In December, if we're there for the holidays, where's the home located? Why would you want to be there? Then I would go through the expectations, the disappointments, and concerns, right? Then I'd say to here, I would go back and I'd say, so what I hear, if I listen correctly, right? Write those words down. If I listen correctly, what I heard was, if I listened correctly, what I heard was, or in listening, right? What I heard was, and I would say your motivation's this, your goal is to be in this area, and this is the reason. These are your expectations of a realtor. These are the things that fell short, and these are the concerns you have. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And you're going to say, based on their expectations say, I need a realtor that does this, 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 and this. And really what I want to know is how you're going to get the best price for my house. That they'll ask you that, correct? So how am I going to get the best price for my house? I'm going to say, so what I hear you're saying is you want to know the exact written marketing plan I'm going to use to get you the best price. You know, Desiree, all I care about is marketing. What are you going to do to market my house? Great. So what I hear is most important to you is the written marketing plan I'm going to use to get the best price. Do you see how those things correlate? And now from there, I would say to you, great. So you want to know and the seller's going to say, yep, that's exactly what I want. I'm going to say, additionally, Desiree and Holly, is there anything else that's important to you in the process besides the marketing plan that'll get you the best price, such as communication? And everyone will fall into that trap, correct? They're going to say, yeah, communication is really important. Great. So you want to know the written communication plan, that you want to know about our written communication plan, which creates predictable communication and service throughout the process. I threw this predictable word in this morning. It kind of just came to me. It really makes a lot of sense, right? Who doesn't want predictable communication? Only somebody that doesn't want to talk to someone. It's true. You ever know those people in your life that like they will call you at the same time every day like clockwork? We can count in my parents' house the exact 3 minutes that my mom's brother from Philadelphia will call her every day. And we know if she doesn't pick up the house phone, her cell phone will ring. It's like clockwork. So those are the three things that people care about, right? So then the next part would be going back to them saying, which one would you like us to go over first? And you go through all of that stuff, right? So does anyone have any questions or actual scenarios or things that they want to add in? And go ahead. You can unmute yourself.
Okay. After you give them the marketing plan, the seller, and you say, okay, I think, we should start at 925. And then the seller goes, well, I don't want to leave money on the table, but you gave them all the information and you drew to that conclusion, and you also
Right,
don't
you're too far ahead.
I am? Okay.
Yeah. So think about it. Where are we? Remember I told you I'd sequentially teach you how to do this? We're building rapport. We've now asked, based on that, you'll get one of these questions, right? Or you could always ask this one, write this down. What's most important to you about an agent and company that represents you in the sale of this home? So you can go through that whole med scene, like, this is what I heard, and you say, great. So what is most important to you, Anne, about an agent and company that represents you in the sale of this home? And then they'll tell you. Is that correct? So look, one of the questions we had, can you go over the Med-C questions? Yes, I'll go over the Med-C questions. So questions we have this morning, and I'll go back to the Med-C after. I had a client that had a leaky upstairs and everything, and they just want me to list it how it is. Do you ever get those clients? But they have bad condition, want to list it what it is. What do you do with those people? Carla, I'm gonna call on you. You can unmute yourself.
Okay, yeah, I get them all the time. And if they don't want to make the repairs or use concierge, then I say with unequivocally, disclose. Disclose, disclose, disclose. Just make sure you're super honest about what the issues are so that they don't come back to haunt you. That's what I would say. I mean, not everybody wants to make repairs. They don't want to take the time or spend the money.
Talk about the pros and cons of leaving. So here's a question, and this is where we talk about not having telekinesis. You don't know whatever has happened to somebody, correct? That house could represent the worst memories of somebody's life, and they rather chop their arm off than put $1 into it because of the pain that house represents for them. Correct? So you get into a house, and this is about meeting people where they are. You get into a house and it's dated and it has like a leak and it's like kind of bootleg fix and everything. And they say to you, Carla, I just want to sell it the way that it is. And it looks like shit. Let's just be honest, right? I'm not going to sugarcoat it. How many people hit leave it or change it based on what you would try to get these people to do? Hit it in the chat. Let's see. I feel like I don't believe all of you. I'm going to be honest with you. All right, let's see. Desiree, if I told you, you can unmute yourself. Good morning or good afternoon, depending. So if I told you, you point out to me like, yeah, there's a leak and everything else like that. And I would say to you, you know what, Desiree, I'm aware there's a leak and stuff like that, but we're really looking to just sell our home in the condition that it is. What would you say to me?
I would definitely talk about how what we're going to expect. We're going to expect a lot of investors, people that are willing to put in this additional work. I'm actually going through this exact issue right now. And that it is going to take a price cut, and the benefit if maybe we did fix up a few things, but if you would just prefer to get out of it, then this is what our options are. Does that still mean trying to change stuff?
Well, I'll flip this on you like this, right? If you ask me the question, I would say, so if I hear you correctly, you want to just sell the property in the condition that it is, and you're aware of what that truly means in terms of market value, right? Okay. And you're aware of what that truly means in terms of market value. They're either, what are they going to say?
Yes or no. Exactly.
Yeah. And then you're going to say, look, just to be on the same page, would you like me to price out the property as if some of the repairs were made to see what additional potential equity do you have, or is your main focus just selling the house in the condition that it is and getting the most money we can the way it is? And see what they say. Remember, it is always their choice. Our job is just to give them options. But when you have someone that wants to just do it the way that it is and they just keep doing all of these other things, it's nuts. It's like people that ask you to fill out all these long forms with information. By the time you filled out the form with the information, you could have just done whatever they're asking yourself. You can't ask people to just do things and explain things, and you're going to get ask somebody, right? Are you aware of the challenges that selling your home like this potentially could cause for you? Yes. Well, what do you feel the challenges are? And then getting investors, not as much market value and everything else, right? And what are your expectations of the pricing in your home versus the other ones that are completed? You just ask them all these questions, because in the end, if I always give you back, Aaron, the things that you said that are important to you, right? How mad could you ever really be? Well, you had said, Aaron, that you're okay selling with it and potentially making less money. Has that changed now? Yeah, I actually do need the money. Great. So would you like us to discuss how we can make the repairs and potentially get the extra equity out of your house? You need to meet the people where they are, right? And the other thing I'll show you is this. Have you ever had anyone recently ask you, like, what happens if I find a buyer on my own? What happens if you do dual agency? Are those common questions that you all get? Yes, I would imagine so. No, sometimes. Now watch, it's really this simple. You look at this, lovely Cadillac here, right? And what happens is one price says 76,000, the other one says 102,220. So what is the question that you would ask this person? What is the difference, right? So a lot of times when people ask you questions about commission, price, various scenarios, they're not asking you anything abnormal. They're just curious how it works. But we have all these past disappointments that will trigger them. They'll trigger you to feel like you need to give a discount, or they want a discount, or anything of the sort. So you have to be careful not to become combative when somebody just asks you a simple question, because that's all that this is. If you go look at a car, that's what you want to know, right? Like, why is there a difference in cost by that much money? A lot of the stuff that people ask you, they're just curious. Nothing more, nothing less. Who has questions before I review the Med C for everybody? Anybody? Is this helpful to all of you to really understand how to have these dialogues? All right, good. The Med C is something we actually started during COVID last year, or 2 years ago, or whenever the heck this was. And the M stands for motivations. Anytime you show up anywhere in your life, you showed up here, there's a reason that you were here, right? So in moving, it's like, what is your motivation? You know, I always like to make a joke. You know, moving is probably one of the least enjoyable things in the world. Or, you know, moving is like paying taxes. It's not something anyone wants to do. It's something you kind of have to do at times. You know, what makes this the right time for you to move? And then the second part of moving is understanding, like, you know, if we're sitting here in Christmas of this year, where do you want to be? Like, where's the home located? How many bedrooms? How many bathrooms? And I really want to understand why. Why is this type of home the one you want? So now you've understand their motivation and their outcome. So if you need to tie something you want them to do, you have a solid anchor to do that with. Then expectations. I would say, you know, one of the things that we want to do is exceed your expectations. But to effectively do that, we need to understand what they are. So what are your expectations of an agent that represents you in the sale of your home? They're going to go on and tell you, right? And when you're going through this, do not go and be like, oh, I can do this for you and I can do this for you. Great. This is what I hear is important to you, or what I listen to you saying. Like, you just repeat it back to them, because at the end of this, they should feel that you really understand them. Disappointments. You could say, you know, one thing that we find is oftenly not asked that makes a big impact is, have you had any past disappointments in meeting with brokers, or anything that you're looking to avoid? By understanding what this is, it's very clear on how we can exceed your expectations. And the C is concerns. Homes, Holly, are selling really quickly. Do you have any concerns with putting your house on the market at this time? And those are the 4 questions, Julie, in the Med C. It works every single time like clockwork. So we have a couple minutes left. Tomorrow, we're going to be breaking into groups and role playing. Keisha, you have a question. Keisha? Oh, I have to ask. Go ahead and mute yourself.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey. Okay, so I feel like a lot of times if you take the Med C approach, you get questions. When I'm trying to ask questions, I get questions.
So like what?
you're trying to find out the motivation or the expectation or whatever, or let's talk about disappointments, and they'll say, well, what are you seeing in the market right now?
And you're going to say, great. I will get, when we go through the comparable homes in the market, I want to address that. I would say respectfully, Keisha, I want to really understand this about you first before the market, because to truly help you in the way that you want to be helped, I have to go through these questions with you.
Okay.
Do you notice that those people that want to rush through and omit that whole, what's important to me, why I got here, where I want to go, and everything like that, generally turn out to be bad clients?
Yeah, I have a client. She's kind of bad, but she does want to list her house.
Listen, people, if you're hiring a service, you need to let them go through their process. That's the important part. And you have to be ready to push back. You're going to say, hey, this is a process in which we work. We really understand about you, what's important to your goals. And then we'll go through the marketing, the communication plan, our pricing approach, and everything else. You can't go to a doctor and say, hey, this is the way I want you to do surgery. Right? Hey, I want to make sure that you do the anesthesia now. They'd be like, what? How does the post-recovery rehab work? Well, why don't we get through like the actual surgery, and then we can talk about rehab. Now, Luciana, if they say their expectations are for you to manage, yeah, you're right, to manage their construction project, you could say, great. Unfortunately, that is not something I have the bandwidth to do. I don't have the availability to meet contractors and be responsible for that. And I don't want to be, that's a big project with a lot of money, and that's not something I have the bandwidth to do right now, or I want to be responsible for. He said, my husband is an engineer. Here, unmute yourself.
I told him, I'm a realtor. I cannot help you with that. And then he said, because he knows us socially. So he said, no, but your husband is an engineer. You have to help me. Otherwise, I'm going to look for another realtor. He was very rude, very.
And if that, you ever hear saying, it's the most important thing we could all walk away from here, how it starts and how it goes. If that guy's talking to you like that, it's not going to get any better. And if you compromise your values for somebody that's like this, you're screwed. I don't care how much the property is, it's not worth it.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll just let him go.
Yeah. Say, hasta
$8 million.
luego, buddy. How much is it?
8.2.
But do you really want to go through all of managing a renovation project? How many renovations does he have?
No, because he's from far. I told him, if you do a project, I can ask my husband to help you, but my husband will not work without a detailed project. And he said, I don't need a detailed project.
Yeah, exactly.
What I'm telling you, I want a wood floor, blah, blah, blah.
You know, you could tell him you're the smartest. You don't say this. You could say you're the smartest person in the room. He'll say, why is that? Because you could answer all your own questions.
Exactly, but that's how he is.
So, all right, we're over on time. I'm going to see you tomorrow. Turn your cameras on. We're going to practice the med scene. We're actually going to be grading each other. So show up, come correct, and get ready to roll.
Hey, thank you, Chirag.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.